What's up? Welcome to another episode of Unpack in the Back Room. I am here with none other than the homie Dillon Chase.
What's going on?
We told y'all what happened, and it's here.
It's here.
You know what I'm saying? How you feel? Album coming out next week.
How
you feeling?
I don't want to say I'm nervous, but I'm nervous. I put invested a lot into this, so you want to see a return from that.
Yeah.
Mainly, you want to see fruit. Like, I invested a lot of my life, my heart, like my family into this project, so you want to see it impact people's lives. And on the other hand, we put some dollars behind it too, so you want to see that end of it do well. Mm-hmm. You know, it's been over 3 years since I released the actual album. I just saw the market change, so I spent years releasing 2 free projects, like over 40 tracks of free music to try to rebuild and connect with that fan base. And so now I'm hoping that the same people that got behind those free projects will get behind this.
Definitely. Cool. So talk through kind of the process of building this out, because from my understanding, you produced the whole thing, right?
Well, I engineer. It just depends how you use the word producer.
Yeah, folks kind of flaky with that nowadays.
Yeah, beat maker or engineer. So
yeah.
I'm definitely heavily involved in the production. So there's tracks that I played keys on. I'm not a key player, but I can knock out some chords. Even adding drum patterns, doing co-production, post-production, and then I mixed the album and engineered it from the home studio. So basically, it's a very distinct approach compared to a free project where you're finding beats on the internet. So now it's I don't like that frequency and that snare. Let me adjust that. It's meticulous. So I really played around with the rhythm of this album to, switching up drum patterns to match the flow, and just where everything just sounds like you think, man, they must have sat down with the producer and wrote that song, but it's like I got the beat and then I manipulated it around how I wrote the song so it meshes well. So
dope. I'm gonna shock you here. Neotropolis 05, 2005.
I had a tall white tee on.
Yeah. So I was at that show. I was in high school.
How old were you?
I was 14.
Wow.
14, 15, 05. I was 14. 14. Let me tell you, this is my perception. I'm tripping. Because I'm here with a friend of mine. She's related to one of the guys on 116, and they got a show, and, all these other artists are opening. So it's cool, I just want to be there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Out walks this white guy with a white tee and blue jeans on, and I'm thinking in my mind, this isn't going to work. What's going to happen? You know what I'm saying? Beat drops, and it's I just couldn't stop my shoulders from moving, bro. That's the jigging era. You know what I'm saying? I'm from Dallas.
Conviction, that was the song.
Nah, yeah, for real, though. I was like, dang, this dude is killing this. You know what I'm saying? And so from then, I started to kind of grow an appreciation for who you were as an artist.
Yeah, that was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, nah, that's kind of scary, bro.
My son
I'm only
2 years, barely 2 or 3 years old,
bro.
3 years old. Lecrae, he did me wrong. He was supposed to go on stage with me because that was our song.
For real?
And he's like, nah, I don't know my lyrics. I'm like, come on.
Dang, bro.
So,
that was my shot.
That was my shot. That was a rough time. We were getting ready to move to Oklahoma. So a lot of the people, me and my family, we started in Denton. We got married at Denton Bible, and we're going to a church plan of Denton Bible, and then we had to move just because financial stuff. We had to relocate to Oklahoma.
Oh, wow.
And all those guys, Lecrae and other guys, I remember being backstage and Lecrae being genuinely concerned about the well-being of my walk with Christ and my family, to remove ourselves from our church family and go to a place we never been before. And he was like, bro, before you find it, before you look into a job and all these other things, he's like, make sure there's going to be a church for you to go to there. So
that's big.
And that was big. And we took that serious and fellowship with the same people that we first met when we came to Oklahoma. Okay. We made sure that would be first and foremost, find a place to get plugged into.
Mm-hmm. So in Oklahoma, one of the things that I notice right now is there's a ton of talent there, bro. Everybody's on in terms of markets for music. Everybody's on, they ATLing right now. Everybody's Atlanta and, maybe a little bit of New York, you know what I'm saying? But those are pretty much the main markets for it seems like. Explain to me how you feel about what's going on in Oklahoma in terms of music, especially in Christian hip hop.
I feel like I'm finally a part of it. That's the blessing thing for me. I feel like I'm a part of what's going on in Oklahoma. When for the longest, I was even when I probably did that. Well, no, I was still in Denton when I did this show at Neotropolis. But with everything that's going on, like I was always doing stuff in Texas and I lived in Oklahoma, but I don't live in the city. So I'm like out in the middle of nowhere and I just, no one knew I was from Oklahoma. I wasn't connecting with other artists in Oklahoma. I was just out there by myself.
Are you originally from Oklahoma or?
I mean, I was born in Oklahoma, but before I was even like 2 years old, my family relocated to Dallas. And I was raised outside of Dallas. So over this past 2 years, I'd probably say I've begun to like reach out for artists like Cadence and Be Less and other guys. Like I'm a fan, you know. Early on when I lived in Oklahoma, I was heavily involved with the 116. Mm-hmm. And there was a stigma that kind of came with that. Yeah. And there was stuff that was instilled in me, like you don't just go working with people like that. You got to know everything they believe theologically. You got to talk to their wife, their pastor, their cousin. You got to talk to Jesus.
On 116.
Right, before you go and just reach out and work with people. You know what I mean? Back then, it was like, I mean, people can tell you, I mean, if you do a song with someone, I mean, you're like getting married. I mean, it's like it's like a covenant. And so it just has you like gun shy, like, well, man, what if I work with these dudes and they don't hold to this view of theology, then that's just going to look bad on me. And so you're kind of worried to do stuff. And then people look at you like, oh, well, he's affiliated with 116. He's done stuff. And so he just thinks he's better than us other artists. So
you face that for real?
Yeah.
I've never thought like that. That's crazy.
I think it's a thing that Christian rappers struggle with.
Okay.
Right.
Not just like fans.
People,
okay,
right.
Cool.
Christian rappers who so they have that feeling like
Dillon Chase ain't approachable because he rocked with those guys.
Yeah. Okay. And so for me to like just take the initiative to start reaching out to people and building relationships and doing shows together, you know, this is 2 or 3 years ago, and so now I'm rocking with Die Daily, which is just a collective of artists and things like that. And the talent is crazy, and people hear it. They don't exactly know it's always coming from Oklahoma, but you look at a guy like Sean Johnson, and you look at, I mean, I'm looking at the albums on his table, and I'm thinking, you know, Sean was on this one, he was rocked with Dre Murray, he's done this and that, and he's been a part of a lot of stuff. And Cadence, you know, produced one of Lecrae's biggest hits, Go Hard. Yeah. And there's just a lot of talent there.
He did Go Hard? I didn't know it was Go Hard, he did?
Yeah, he did the one on...
it explains a lot.
Yeah, he did the other one too on Rehab Overdose. He did one on there too. So yeah, a lot of talent, but more than that, there's a lot of heart. Those guys love their community. Those guys sacrifice their platform to stay and reach OKC.
The one thing that I can appreciate about a lot of the guys I know of in Oklahoma, the Dre Murrays, the Dillon Chases, the Chauncey Johnson, Cadence, and even I have like DJ friends out there, Sir Walt, Dwayne Pano. Like that's a homie of mine. Like I look at those guys and I know those guys and I know these guys are putting in work. And I'm B100. Like for me, I look at some of the guys who are in these bigger markets in Atlanta or whatever, you know, and I feel like, especially following your music, Dillon Chase, I know he's put in a ton of work and he's been here for a great amount of time. Like, do you think, like, I think sometimes, like, dog, this dude hasn't put in half the work I put in, and he's already selling 3 albums, or, you know what I'm saying, on Reach Records, or, you know, he's already got these features with Lecrae, and he's already doing, you know what I mean? Like, do you ever kind of fight through some of those things?
Yeah. Man, my wife could tell you many, like, when you had them conversations when the lights are off and, like, you just laying in bed and you're like, you know what, da-da-da. You just start, you know, venting, and then my wife will reel me back in, like, no, like, but look at the positive, you know what I mean? But, you know, she says, Dillon, there's people who would love to be in your position right now, and that keeps me humble. But I guess on one hand, maybe I feel sorry for those guys because there's things that I've learned, you know, going about it. And there's this route that I've been on, it purifies your motives, right? Because it's like, you know, I just did a show how many people were at the show last night? Maybe when you can count them, you know, it's not a lot. Like, when you're counting, like, cool.
And that's my cousin over there.
Yeah, you know, here I am. You saw me at Neotropolis. Here I am 10 years later and still doing smaller, you know, venue shows, but the fruit doesn't match. You know, you think, well, man, there can't be much fruit. There's not that many people at your shows, but man, there's tons of fruit from it. But I feel bad for these artists who maybe haven't learned the things that I've learned doing it this way, and that maybe are faced with temptations that I don't have to be faced with. You know what I mean? I don't have to be faced with these temptations of putting out another album just to make money, or just because you got to meet a deadline. And I remember I even asked Lecrae a couple years ago when he was still somewhat reachable. I said if you were still at the juvenile detention centers, and that's where God kept you, I said, would you still be rapping? He said, most definitely. And that encouraged me because I worried, even looking at Lecrae from afar, I worried that he's been wanting to hang it up, but he's just doing it because you look at the momentum came so late in his career, the big momentum, and then now he's hitting it harder than he ever has. And I just like,
but at this point, it's like bro got kids and
right. And I don't want his, you're tempted for your drive just to be temporary or financial. So whenever he told me like to know that his heart was still passionate about music and doing music for the Lord, that was encouraging to me because this is the longest thing I've done in my life. I mean, I tried to be a basketball player when I was a kid. I thought I was going to be a comedian. I wanted to be on all of that. I wanted to do all these things as a kid, and I've been doing music since I was 14, and I'm still just as passionate about it. I still rap when I'm taking a shower. I still rap to myself in the car. It's still fun. I'll write a song right now.
So since we on Reach, explain to me how the relationship with you and those guys at Reach really looks. Because we had the situation with the alleged diss or whatever in the track.
Just a marketing ploy to get people to watch the video.
Yeah, just pull in some views. No, but so we had that issue. How is your relationship with Reach now? Like,
well, every 4 months I'll get a royalty check from 13 Letters for about $25, and part of that's from shows. My song I did with Show, that'd be at least $4 of it. And that's about it. I mean, now Biz, who's the in-house engineer for Reach Records and a DJ, we still talk heavily. I mean, I discipled him when he was like 14 years old, and he really came to a true understanding of the gospel during those years, like 2005. And so, I talk with him. And now, anytime like Lecrae's in town, normally he'll try to like hit me up and get us a backstage, pass and come back there with the family because he knows, he remembers Julian being little, 2 years old, and he doesn't come to Oklahoma a lot though. Not many artists do. So, but I mean, it's not like hey, let me bounce this song off you and let me know what you think. But then some of the newer guys I've really connected with, I was like KB. I've really connected with him, and we got together when I was in Tampa, and I went to go visit his church. Awesome
dope church. I've been there too.
You look at a guy like KB, he was on the outside looking in when I was more affiliated, like with the 116. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember he's closer to my age.
At like the Man Up concert, he was like quoting my lyrics from my album The Pursuit. Tripping me out. And he was supposed to be on the project. Sincerely, he wanted to be on it, but he just wasn't able to make the deadline. But he would have been on Problem Solved.
That would have been nuts, bro.
Yeah.
That would have been nuts. But then
I got Princeton.
I was trying to say you would
I got Princeton, man. He turned the verse out in like 48 hours because it was last minute. I said, man, I gotta be honest. You're the B choice.
Okay, so you came out. Hey, bro.
You came after KB.
You came after KB, but are you down?
Yeah.
Okay.
You killed it. Though.
Already. So I'm gonna ask you this question. It's kind of crazy because this is what it looks like to me. In concerns of Reach Records, you mentioned what your relationship is like with them now, bro. Is that kind of like a blacklist with Reach B100? Because I'm looking at artists like Cam. I'm like, where's Cam? You know what I'm saying? Where's Chris Lee Cobbins? You know what I'm saying? What happened to D Chase? What's going on? All these cats that we saw with them, like just damn. What happened to Cannon? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, he has to do that.
Right, he's doing good.
But, some of these cases like, we saw them with them, and we're thinking something's going to happen, maybe a situation come out of it, or at least see more with collaborations between them and Reach, and then they go away. You know what I'm saying? Like
Cam, we had a show in Houston together. They booked both of us. It was awesome. We met each other at the airport where they canceled our flight. And we had known each other loosely. We had done some songs together, but not like really knowing each other. Boom, next thing you know, we're in a rental car. We have to drive to Houston together. Damn. Hey, you would have wished the back room would have had those conversations, Mike. You have to look at it the other way, too, is that the positive way to look at it is Reach really helped guys like Cam. And even I'm here today talking to you in partially because of what Reach invested into me, my first album. Lecrae produced almost half the beats on my first album and gave them to me for free. Sent me home with his beat machine because I use secular beats. That's a whole nother conversation. Back then, he was like, bro, is God pleased with this? I was like, no. Take my beat machine home. Because I was like, well, I can't get any Christian beats. They won't mess with me. He's like, pulls up his laptop, emails Tony Stone, JR, and all those guys. Like, hey, this is Dillon. Hook him up, work with him. He needs beats. And then he sent me home with his beat machine. So I could be bitter, but Lecrae didn't owe me that. Yeah. Like, Lecrae didn't owe me to bring me out to, I wish I would have been on the whole Unashamed tour, but he didn't owe it to bring me out the one time in 2008 in Seattle. And then even like Cam, would have been nice to see Cam, who at that time was singing almost like all of their hooks, to go on tour with them on the Unashamed tour. Yeah, it would have been nice, but, and he reached out and tried to make that happen, but they were like no. But here's the thing, back then, Reach looked a lot bigger than they were. Back then, man, they wouldn't have had it in their means to even take on another artist.
Okay.
Right. So I mean,
it wasn't
in one
like
ways, I felt like I was in line. I remember the song Conviction was going to be on Lecrae's album after the music stops. And I had just been there, like I would engineer his sessions, you know. He would record his album. I pretty much just hit record and make sure the levels were right and record my album. When he got done, I would stay in the studio. And then one day he called me. He's like, I got a song I want you to get on. I'm like, oh, it's about to go down.
It's about to happen, bro.
So
this
like,
is
I
it.
called my wife. Like, he wants me to come in the studio, do this song. Man, I wrote my verse right there, and I hit it and added some ad-libs to the chorus, and he loved it. And then late that night, I get home, and he calls me. He's like, hey, man, I want to take you out for lunch tomorrow. I'm like, cool. I'm like, hey, it's about to happen.
Yeah.
I told my wife, I was like, they're about to offer your boy contract.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I got a pen in my pocket.
I didn't know what was about to happen. He liked the verse. I just recorded. Now he wants to go to lunch. But that didn't happen. But he just, said, hey, more people are going to be checking you out, like, once this album drops. And I was like, I didn't put you on the album because you're a tight rapper, although you are tight. I didn't put you on here because of this or that, but I put you on here because, like, you displayed the heart of a servant and, like, always display that. So for me, like, I never asked anything from Reach, you know what I mean? Because I was like, I'm just going to be a servant. But as I moved to Oklahoma, I even mentioned in the song Have It All that it almost killed my career, but it saved my family.
Yeah, what does that mean? Right.
Moving to Oklahoma was a move that there was a rental property that had been owned by my family for like 60-some years. Dang. A house that like my great-great-grandpa built, like a little 900-square-foot house.
Ballin'.
In this little town in Oklahoma, and I had lost my job, newly married, already had a kid, and this was a place where I could get on my feet, like live there rent-free.
Okay.
And so we had to move at that point, and that took me out of this whole scene that was going on in Denton, everything that was going on with Reach, and I didn't correspond with those guys because, again, I'm like, they're busy, and I remember one time a friend of mine, Biz, was asking, I'm like, I don't remember who he was asking, but they were like, what's going on? How come y'all don't do stuff with Dillon? Like, well, we don't know what's going on with Dillon. We don't know. You know what I mean?
So that was a you thing. That was you.
That was me, yeah. I didn't move out. I didn't really keep up with those guys. I kind of left the scene and literally almost went to the middle of nowhere. So.
Dang. Okay.
To answer the question clearly, is there a blacklist? That would be the negative way to look at it. The positive way would be that they helped Cam to a point, they helped Dillon to a point, they helped these other artists to a point, but they can't sign everybody. Yeah. They can't sign everybody, and I think it was a blessing and a curse for me because I think other people may look like I've been blacklisted by Reach because they're like, well, Reach don't do stuff with Dillon anymore. There must be something wrong. I don't know if people think that. I've never heard it. But I've also was so engulfed into the Reach quote unquote image that it's like, why buy a Dillon Chase album when you can just buy Triple E? You know what I mean?
Christian hip hop in its current status, like, how would you describe it?
I could be negative, but I could be more negative of the state of hip hop in general. Yeah. I mean, I just made hip hop music, before I was saved, and there was lots of whack people. There was whack people on the radio. There was whack people in the clubs, and then there was talented people too. So now we've seen that in Christian hip hop. There's just some people that probably maybe shouldn't be doing it because of a talent reason. Yeah. And here recently I've discovered that there really is people who shouldn't be doing it because of a heart reason.
Yeah,
And like
yeah, yeah,
I just always